we've got your Raiders covered.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140. And now, here's your host, Scott Gobranson.
That's right. It's Tuesday night, Raider Nation, a night to celebrate as the Raiders win their first game at home in Oakland in nearly 50 days. They play their first game in Oakland in nearly 50 days with a 31-24 victory over the Detroit Lions, and now must prepare on a short week for a pivotal AFC West showdown with the Los Angeles Chargers just 2 days from now. Welcome back to Silver and Black Tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140 as we bring you the most comprehensive coverage of the Raiders in Las Vegas, both on Sunday mornings with Silver and Black today from 8 to 10 a.m. and now on Tuesday nights as well from 6 to 7 p.m. You know us from Sunday Silver and Black. Now we're here invading your prime time with another show dedicated to all things Raider Nation. Tonight, we'll break down the week that was in Raiders football, focus on analyzing, exploring, and debating the Raiders' win against the Lions. We'll include insightful looks at key plays and moments of the game. We'll also preview the big game against the Chargers on Thursday and take your phone calls. That's right, 702-889-5978. That is 702-889-5978. We get great callers, so pick up the phone, Raider Nation, and be a part of this talk show. Let's get you up to speed on the game that was as the Raiders returned home for the first time since September 15th, rolling into Oakland and the Alameda Coliseum, fresh off a loss to the Houston Texans, but looking to stay alive in both the AFC West division race and in the wild card playoff race as well. The much-maligned Raiders defense took the brunt for the blame of the loss to the Texans, and now they face one of the best quarterbacks in the game in Detroit's Matthew Stafford. How would they fare? Could they make a stand at home in the Bay Area and help the Silver and Black get back to 500? Scoreless in the first quarter with the Lions on the march and driving towards the red zone, the Raiders defense makes an early statement, creating a turnover on a 2nd and 8 on the Oakland 27-yard line.
Seventh play of this drive, 2nd down and 8. Ball on the ground. The Raiders have only forced 5 turnovers all year and now make it 6.
Highlights courtesy of Fox Sports Television. Taking the cue from their big takeaway on defense, quarterback Derek Carr and the Rookie of the Year candidate Josh Jacobs led an 11-play, 5.5-minute drive, capped off by a Jacobs doing what Josh Jacobs does in the red zone, finding pay dirt.
11th play of the drive, Jacobs will find the end zone.
That's right. With the game tied at 7, thanks to a Stafford TD to Jones 2-yard TD pass, the Raiders would drive for 5 minutes on offense and convert it into 3 points, thanks to a 32-yard Daniel Carlson field goal, giving them the 3-point lead at 10-7. That lead would be short-lived as Stafford and the Lions exploited the Oakland defense, scoring another 6 on a 59-yard strike to speedy wideout Kenny Galladay, giving Detroit the 14-10 edge with 11:30 left in the second quarter. The resilient Raiders would answer right back before halftime, thanks to their second takeaway of the half on defense, with Detroit diving deep into the territory of the Raiders. Stafford was looking to score again when Oakland's Darryl Worley laid waste to that plan.
Stafford for Galladay.
Wow.
And that's intercepted. What a play by Darryl Worley.
What a beautiful play indeed. Oakland's offense would again take their defensive success and convert it into points, with Carr and Jacobs orchestrating an 11-play, 80-yard drive when John Gruden dialed number 28 on his playbook again.
First down and goal. They pitch it to Jacobs. What a block delivered by Ingold. And a touchdown.
Leading 17-14 starting the second half, the Raiders again struggled on offense in the third quarter. They ranked 29th in third quarter scoring, averaging just 2.1 points per third period, and have been outscored 54-17 in the third by opponents this season. The Lions would score in the third as they put together a 6-minute, 60-yard drive, ending in a Prater 23-yard field goal to tie the game at 17. That fired up Derek Carr as he and the Raiders answered right back with an impressive drive of their own to start scoring in the final quarter, finding rookie tight end Foster Moreau in the end zone to give the Raiders a 24-17 lead with 14:56 remaining in the game. The Lions, fighting for their own playoff lives on the day, when every other team in the NFC North would lose, capitalized on a hot Stafford, I should say, who again led his Detroit squad into Oakland territory. After trading offensive possessions without bearing fruit for both sides, Stafford found running back J.D. McKissick, to tie the game late 24-all.
Stafford, great protection, and drops it in there to McKissick, who will find the end zone. J.D. McKissick, his first touchdown of this season.
Could the Raiders muster a fourth-quarter comeback relying on the arm of Derek Carr? You bet your silver and black they could, as Carr connected for 4 straight touches with running back Jalen Richard, setting up a 3rd and 9 from Detroit with 5:22 remaining in the contest. Carr dropped back, was flushed from the pocket, and found a slashing Hunter Renfrow near the front pylon.
And they have Richard in the backfield. Carr looking around. Throws a bullet. Renfrow, his second straight week with a touchdown, and the Raiders lead.
Leading 31-24 after the 7-play, 75-yard scoring drive, Oakland left the Lions and Stanford ample time to mount a scoring drive of their own. Detroit moved the ball well, aided by 2 key Raiders penalties, and were on the verge of making it a 1-point game. Facing a 4th and 1 from the Raider 1, Oakland's defense finished strong as they started.
They fake the run. Broken up in the back of the end zone. And the Raiders will win.
Just like that, the Raiders defense seals the deal. And co-host Chaz Osborne, what did they do? What did they do?
Coffee. Closes. Coffee's for closes. Only.
Oakland improves to 4-4 with a big win at home against the Lions. Rookie running back Josh Jacobs finishes the day with 128 yards on 28 carries and 2 touchdowns. Derek Carr, on fire, continues to play lights out, throwing for 289 yards, hitting on 20 of 31 passes, and throwing for 2 scores. Rookie Hunter Renfrow and Foster Moreau each catch a touchdown, meaning all 4 of the Raiders' touchdowns were made by rookies. So, Chaz, again, we're going to hear a little bit from the players here in a second, but what a day for Raiders rookies. I mean, it shows the future of this team is bright.
All 4 touchdowns were scored by Raider rookies. It's like a ripe avocado, man.
A ripe avocado. Oh, I like that one. That's a good one. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because they asked the touchdown to Renfrow, obviously a big play, and they talked to Renfrow after the game, and here's what he had to say about his touchdown and how it was a little bit of backyard football with Derek Carr.
Something we've been working on is just become more available, and when the play breaks down, be able to create a new play. And Derek did a phenomenal job, and offensive line did a good job to kind of protect and let him get outside the pocket there. And then from there, it was kind of backyard football, so it worked out.
Yeah, incredible intuition for Renfrow to make himself available to Carr. He said it's something they've been working on.
Yeah.
But in that moment, for him to execute, just it shows his awareness and his high football IQ.
It was, absolutely. And he mentioned the offensive line and veteran offensive guard Richie Incognito. Part of that dominant Raiders offensive line, which is yet to be completely healthy for more than maybe half a quarter, was quick to credit the team's rookies like Renfrow and isn't surprised by their success.
I mean, it's a great time, that the young guys are taking ownership in this team and helping us win games like that. It's really fun to see, and it really kind of gets me excited for the future of what this team could be.
Yeah, with so many first- and second-year players on both sides of the ball, that statement should give Raider fans confidence that the rebuild is trending in the right direction.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I think that's the big takeaway. Of course, the win is big, but being able to look at the progress being made by this team, it's significant, and people should be happy with that. The sentiment echoed by Incognito, too, was also, I mean, Josh Jacobs, they talked to Josh after the game, and, I mean, this guy, he's an Offensive Rookie of the Year candidate already. Mm-hmm. He in the 2019 class, he said they made a vow together, and they said, hey, we're going to change the culture here as rookies. We want to come in and help change it. But he was really quick to give front to the big uglies, or give credit to the big uglies up front. Here's Josh Jacobs on the win.
That's just something that we've been priding ourselves on since we came in. We've been knowing that we wanted to change the culture and start a dynasty here. And, I mean, we all came in and we made that agreement together. And to see that we all are doing so good right now, I mean, it's huge. I mean, it starts with the offensive line. I mean, we got guys banged up on the offensive line, and it's not a drop-off when guys come in. I mean, and just with them protecting and run blocking as good as they are, I mean, we feel confident with all the skilled players that we have.
Yeah, Jacobs is just so unassuming, but you can hear in his voice just the solidarity, the cohesiveness that this team has. I enjoy watching Jacobs play so much, man. He's just like water going through rocks. Just incredible vision, instinct, that bounce outside move. He's done it twice, the last 2 games where he looks like he's going to go inside, and he just fakes the guy. The defender makes it go inside. He bounces it right outside for another 10 yards. Incredible.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, he knowing his background and all that's happened there. I mean, with his upbringing and all that, it is really remarkable.
You got to root for the guy.
Oh, absolutely. Despite the offensive victories and the big performances on the day, it was the Raiders' defense, of course, that had the feel good story of the day, right? Because you after taking so much of the blame for what happened the previous week against Houston, for them to come out and really do that, it's something Derek Carr talked about. He said, "Look, I didn't want to be on the sideline and win, or come out into the game and win the game. I wanted the defense to do it." Here's what he had to say.
Just hoping for their sake, man. Their poor hearts, man. They've been ripped out of their chests, for a couple weeks, right? And so, man, I'm sitting there praying, like, man, Lord, just give them a stop so they can be happy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want us to go throw a touchdown in overtime or something, man. Let them get the stop. Let them win the game for us. And you see the emotions of a guy like Carl Joseph when he gets to make that play, and how much it means to him, how hard he's worked. The emotions of our D-line when they get a sack to make them 3rd and 14. Like that stuff, like 10 out of 10 times, I'd rather them win the game for us than us do it on offense, right? And so that's just the emotions. Like, man, for me at least, obviously I want to win the game, but I want them to make the stop, man, so those guys can celebrate and have a good time.
Yeah, the fact that he wants the defense to get that recognition just shows his selflessness, and those are the kind of things you want to see from your captains. I have to say, Carr's starting to look very comfortable out there. I was worried in the last couple of seasons. He looked tentative after the 2 injuries, right? The happy feet, he looked a little unsettled. But, man, he's looked really poised lately. And, Andre James, again, he did a great job filling in at center. But how many low snaps did Carr have to control from him? And Carr gets a lot of criticism for those end zone fumbles. But he should get some credit for that one bad snap the guy by him on 3rd down. That could have been disastrous. He picked it up and threw it out of bounds. Saved 3 points. We got a field goal out of that.
No, he did. And I think but to see the defense, again, back to that, Chaz, and I agree with you on Carr. He's looking comfortable. We'll talk a little bit more about him later.
Yep.
But the fact that the defense, because, when you're under siege like that and people are really focusing on how bad your numbers are,
right,
including us, we talked about the issues they had on Sunday.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for them to come out and make a stand, were they perfect? No. They gave up a lot of yards. They gave up 400 yards as we thought they would to Matthew Stafford.
Right.
But when it counted most, they came up big and they created turnovers, and we're going to talk about it after the break when we talk about your keys to the game and your pivotal moment.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do that when we come back. And later in the show, don't miss, we're going to preview, because we have a Thursday night game. We're going to preview the Charger game, the big Thursday night game, huge game for the Raiders at home with Gilbert Manzano of the Orange County Register. We'll step aside. When we come back, we'll have more of the Silver and Black tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
CBS Sports Radio. Sound off with Silver and Black tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Oh, yeah, we're back. Welcome to Silver and Black tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. By the way, we got people from Chicago, all over the country listen to us. We are streaming via video in all the major channels, including Twitch.
Wow.
I got a Twitch.
Hey.
Twitch. Sorry. Hey. Ho. But no, you can find us on Facebook, on YouTube, where actually the most conversation is happening on YouTube. We got some great folks in YouTube. Hardcore Raider, who called us last week.
Yeah.
We got some new guys. The Big Easy's a new one. Hey, Big Easy. We're giving you a shout out, man. We appreciate you watching and being part of Raider Nation, and we appreciate you guys being here. All right, Chaz, let's talk about this game now, because a lot of things went well.
Yep.
And of course, with every game, there's things that you can do better, right? But I really want to talk about here in this segment, we talk about what you feel like was really the kind of pivotal play in the game. What kind of changed the tide, or what set the mood for the Raiders to go ahead and win this game? What was it for you?
A little mood music, a little mood lighting. Obviously, the Darryl Worley interception, that one-handed interception in the end zone, for me, that was the turning point of the game. The Lions moved the ball almost at will all day, and they were on the verge of going up 21-10 on the Raiders midway through the second quarter. When Worley made that play, it was just, you saw it and you said, whoa. And, the Raiders promptly took it the other way for a touchdown and like you said, a 17-14 halftime lead. So, so many guys stepped up. Carr and Jacobs, obviously, on the offense. Carl Joseph, Darryl Worley, the play was unbelievable. Trayvon Mullen had another solid performance. I don't know, Scott, who gets your game ball,
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would say I would give my game ball to the defense for making key stops when they needed to. I mean, you talk about the interception from Worley.
Yep.
You talk about the fumble early. You talk about P.J. Hall with a big sack.
Right.
I mean, these guys, and even Clelin Ferrell. We've been talking. I wouldn't say we've been hard on Ferrell.
Critical.
It's just he's had trouble. He's struggling as a rookie, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think he's going to be fine.
Yep.
But when you look at what he was able to do in the fourth quarter,
that last play of the game.
Yeah,
he brought the pressure.
It was significant, and to me, that was a big deal. And again, for this defense, Chaz, to step up like they did. Look, they're not a top tier defense. They're not gonna be all season. But all you need is one key stop from them.
Right.
And in this case, that fourth down play at the end of the game,
that was
from the one. Now they were helped. The Lions I inexplicably made a terrible play call, all right? But at the same time, you still got to stop it, right? I mean, you have Matthew Stafford back there. He's no slouch.
Right.
And they were able to step up at that moment. And again, in the back of the end zone, getting up high.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a terrible play call by the Lions. They had the fake handoff, and everybody kind of bid on it except for Ferrell. And so he made a nice play on Stafford, and then Carl Joseph just went all out. I mean, he was upside down getting that ball, and you saw him land on his head upside down backwards, knocking that ball out of the receiver's hands to seal the game. And, we were talking about the stats. I felt like this game pretty much went the way we predicted it to go. The Raiders winning the time of possession by 6 minutes. They had 3 more of those 10-plus play scoring drives I was talking about. You got to hold on to the ball, and we're going to talk about that later against the Chargers, but hopefully they need to keep doing that. And, you said Stafford would have 400-plus yards. He did. But overall, the numbers were similar for both teams. And that being said, there were 2 things that really stood out to me. And obviously, it was those 2 turnovers. That was the difference. And the 10 penalties by the Raiders for 96 yards. They've really got to clean up the penalties.
Oh, no doubt. And that's been something that they've had issues with all year. And there are a lot of pre-snap penalties again, right? We saw those again. Looking at the stats, too, I mean, to me, Josh Jacobs, I mean, we could talk about him all day because he's just such a phenomenal kid. I mean, forget the play on the field, which of course is what we're focusing on, but just a good kid. He knows what to say. He's so mature,
so humble.
And for him to do what he's done, and on the day 120 yards, 4.3 average, had that long run of 17, but he's just automatic. And even he's had an injured shoulder, right?
Yep.
So he's not 100%, but he goes out there and he balls.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, you have to have that running game. That's why Derek Carr is doing so well. That's why Derek Carr is comfortable in the pocket, because he can be. He's got that great offensive line in front of him, but he also has a running back that takes off the pressure. You're able to soften up that defense, which opens it up for the pass.
Yeah, and he's so much fun to watch. Like I said earlier, just every time he gets the ball, he's doing something, and you're just like, wow, that was great. And, that's why I thought that game against the Texans was so important, for the wild card kind of tiebreaker. So this game big, and now this Charger game coming up, obviously in the division. But another team that's right there in the wild card, and we're going to see what happens Thursday night. It's a big one.
No, it's a very big game, and we're going to talk about it after the bottom of the hour. Gilbert Manzano of the Orange County Register will join us, and he's a beat writer for the Chargers. We'll talk about that. We'll also get the latest from him on this London thing, right?
Yeah.
You heard about this London thing where the Chargers, because nobody in L.A. wants them there,
right?
They're kind of like the herpes of Los Angeles.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so they're going to. He's going to talk to us about that too.
And of course, Spanos came out. Now I don't know if you believe anything that comes out of Spanos' mouth.
No,
but.
No. I mean, come on. But on Monday, just yesterday, Coach Gruden had his press conference too, and I want to play a little bit about sound from him, because he talked about his rookies and what they've been able to do, and so we'll go to that sound now.
Rookie class is. Not only are they good football players, they love football and they love to study, and they're versatile guys. They can do a lot of different things, but we're only halfway home. We're making progress. We're excited about that, but when you watch the Chargers, you don't feel real good about yourself right now.
Yeah, and, like you said, we're making progress. And I think going into the season, that's basically all we were talking about was, hey, we just want to see progress. But now, at the halfway point when you're 4-4 and you're in the wild card hunt, it's like, wait a minute, we kind of want to see playoffs now. And to see the rookies doing what they're doing, that's just, the pillars are starting to build up for the foundation. And it's something Raider fans should be excited about.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that you look at what's happening, and there's still a lot of people who are not believers in Derek Carr. But you cannot find fault with what's going on with Derek Carr. Look, he's doing what he needs to do. Now, it's got to translate into wins, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying here today that you can put up a bunch of numbers and lose. You got to win. But I mean, so far when he's done it, and he's been comfortable, and he's not turned the ball over, by the way, the last 2 games, right? He's been very good with the ball after learning that lesson with the end zone reach.
Right.
It seems to me like maybe he's gotten over that hump.
And, like I said, that we were worried about his injuries, and maybe he's had a little bit of happy feet the last couple of years, and he really looks comfortable now. And, that was his 18th game-winning drive of his career, and he's had 36 wins in his career, so half of his wins have been fourth-quarter game-winning drives. And again, that last play to Hunter Renfrow, that was a third down. That's his 8th passing touchdown on third down, which leads the league this year.
Yeah, no, and you said 35th win, right? 36 win
yep.
against 51 losses, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing that
that's
you have
a glaring.
to look at.
That's what everybody's pinning it on.
Well, yeah, but you know what? I mean, look.
How many different coordinators? How many different head coaches?
No, I agree with you, Chaz. I think here's the point with Derek Carr. It's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. If you don't think Derek Carr is the answer, you never will think it.
Yeah, of course.
Okay?
Yep.
And for those who love Derek Carr, you have the people on the other side who are completely Derek Carr can do no wrong.
Right.
I tend to land in the middle and try to look at things objectively, right?
Yep.
And say, look, he does this well, he doesn't do this well, but he's getting better.
He's getting better.
So you cannot look at his performance over the last several weeks, especially, and really find all that much fault. Yeah, I can find plays where he missed receivers or that, but almost every quarterback does that. So I think that they're in a good spot with Derek Carr, and He's doing what they need him to do, Chaz. That's the simple truth.
And as far as is in the locker room and his leadership on the field, he's exactly what any coach, any team would want as a locker room quarterback and a quarterback on the field. As far as those things go, talk about character, his is the highest character on the team.
No, there's no doubt. I mean, nobody's ever questioned Derek Carr as a man or as an individual. He's just a good guy from anything. And all his teammates agree, too. And that's the thing, too. You see his teammates sticking up for him again and talking about how important he was. In fact, on that game-winning drive, teammates saying he had that look in his eye. And that's what you want to hear, right, Chaz?
Yeah,
you want to hear that guy's ready to go.
That's what I'm talking about, the cohesiveness, the solidarity, they're all on the same page. Even if the talent level isn't all the way there, they're still going to get a lot more production because they're all on the same page, because they have that solidarity.
Yeah, no, it's true. And boy, I tell you what, this was a big win for them for so many reasons, including the fact that they hadn't been home in so long, and forget the home game in London because it wasn't really a home game.
Right. But it wasn't, it wasn't a clean win, back and forth, and it, just like the Texans game, it could have went either way, and I feel like the Charger game coming up is going to be just the same kind of game as the Texans game and the Lions game, and until they're a complete team, those are the kind of games the Raiders are going to win right now.
No, you're right. And speaking of the Charger game, we're going to step aside and take a break and pay some bills here because we are in commercial radio.
Hey.
That's how we are able to do this. And we love our sponsors here, by the way. But when we come back, we're going to talk to Gilbert Manzano. Gilbert is the beat writer covering the Los Angeles / El Toro / Carson / London Chargers.
London.
Yes. And he'll be with us. He'll tell us about where the Chargers are at right now as they head into the game with Oakland after their big win against the Packers. They just dominated Aaron Rodgers and the Packers.
That Charger team that we saw on Sunday was the team I fully expected to see all season.
And so we'll come back right after this and here with Gilbert. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Silver and Black tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
When you need inside info on your Raiders, you'll find it here. This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back. We were just getting rolling and we had to step aside for a break, but that's okay because it's high energy and we're not stopping. I'm caffeinated. Chaz never needs caffeine.
I don't do caffeine. I don't know why.
No, because you don't need it. You're naturally hyper. It's insane.
Chaz the Spaz for nothing.
That's right. See, all those nicknames come back. All right, we are going to shift gears. Usually, we use this show to talk about the week that was, but because of the Thursday night game, the Raiders will take part in at the Oakland Alameda Coliseum against the Los Angeles Chargers. We go out now on the Newsmaker line to bring in one of our favorite guys. Used to be here in Las Vegas, the Review Journal. Now covers the Chargers for the Orange County Register, and that is Gilbert Manzano. Gilbert, how you doing, my man?
Hey, I'm doing well. I usually talk to you guys on a Sunday morning. And
yeah,
Tuesday night.
It's nice, isn't it?
It's kind of weird.
I know it's funny. You know, we're cloaked in darkness, which is good. But Gilbert, listen, it was an eventful day. We're going to get into the Charger game in a minute, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the crazy day that was in your world with all of the, of course, Vincent Bonsignore, he used to be a contributor here on our show, put out the story in The Athletic about the Chargers being open to moving to London, perhaps, which then led to the owner, Dean Spanos, with a expletive-driven comment to the press. Tell us, like, what's the fallout and what's the feeling there in Chargerdom around this whole report?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny. Like, it seemed like a lot happened today down in Costa Mesa, but it was pretty much like a 30-second statement and then a bunch of interviews, because on a Thursday you go with this rapid fire. You had to talk to Anthony Lynn, Phillip Rivers, the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator. But the big story was the first 30 seconds where it was kind of weird. They said only the beat reporters could go into the practice field first for like some kind of, you know, announcement, and I had no idea what it was going to be. I was guessing maybe Derwin James going to, you know, practice, come back from his foot injury.
Yep.
And then you see Dean Spanos walk out, and I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be interesting. I already had when I saw him come out, he looked pretty fired up, and he just pretty much said, hey, I'm going to give you guys a quote. And then the F-bombs came out, and the BS words came out, and he was not happy about the London story. So he pretty much wanted to, you know, take 30 seconds out of his day to tell us that, you know, that story was, I guess, false in his opinion. I know Vinny is a well-respected reporter. He's pretty much on top of it when it comes to relocation, stuff like that. So you don't really know, but the owner came out and he felt like he needed to make a statement. Yeah, and Gilbert, we know, talking to other beat writers, we know that Dean Spanos likes his four-letter words in private, but usually he doesn't do that on the record. So a very interesting day for you and the rest of the press pool there. And, of course, this story is going to live on and I'm sure going to be part of your life for a little while. But let's focus on the game because that's coming up, and that is of utmost importance to both these teams. But the Chargers, coming off this big win against the Packers at home, how important was that one for them, knowing how things had gone the previous weeks? Of course, they fire Ken Wisenhunt as the offensive coordinator, and then they come in against a team like led by Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. How big of a win was that for them, both not only in the win column, but also psychologically? Yeah, no, it was a huge victory for the Chargers to, you know, like you said, mentally, and also just to get back into the playoff race. You know, a couple of weeks ago, it seemed like they were out of it. They were 2-5. They were just, you know, they were losing games to a third-string quarterback against the Steelers. They were losing games to Joe Flacco. They couldn't, you know, get 1 yard in Tennessee, and then they somehow go back-to-back weeks and beat the Chicago Bears in Chicago. And then they pretty much gave Aaron Rodgers his worst performance in who knows how long. So that was kind of a surprise, but. Yeah, it kind of also gave this Thursday night game on, you know, again in Oakland, kind of a spark. It's kind of two teams now battling for a wild card spot. Maybe the AFC crown with the Chiefs there, but a lot from that win, a lot changed. And for the Chargers, they're pretty fired up. But I gotta say though, you know, that Dean Spanos kind of, you know, the F-bomb statement kind of took away from what they did on Sunday. They were kind of riding high. You know,
good point.
They just kind of you know, crushed Aaron Rodgers. They got back into the playoff race. A big game on Thursday, and now we're talking about London and the F-bombs that Dean Spanos said. So I don't know how much of a distraction that could be, but I think from that game alone, it gave them a whole new life. Hey, Gilbert, it's Chaz. You made a great point there about, you know, them winning and making this Thursday night game that much more important for both teams. And, you know, it's going to make it something, you know, a must-watch.
Scott talked about Ken Wisenhunt. I've noticed, in all the sports, when a team fires a coach during the season, they always seem to play well that next game. We saw it earlier in the season with the Redskins, relieving Jay Gruden of his duties, and then they won their next game. So, the Chargers come out and do the same thing. But now it's not the head coach, but it's similar situation. Was this last game against Green Bay, you think, was it an aberration, or is this what we should be expecting from the Chargers for the rest of the season?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you there. I'm kind of wondering myself, is this going to be a one-time thing or it's going to be for the rest of the season? Because, you kind of want to say the rest of the season because they have so many weapons on offense. So it was kind of a head-scratcher. They couldn't even rush for 40 yards in a game for a whole month. So it was so weird when you have Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon, and you got Hunter Henry and Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. So you want to say they're going to keep it rolling, but, whatever it was, it just wasn't working with Ken Wisenhunt and Anthony Lynn. I kind of felt some tension throughout the whole year because Anthony Lynn is a running backs coach, and maybe sometimes Ken Wisenhunt didn't see eye to eye with that. I know you're the head coach, and I know you're a running backs, that's your specialty. But Ken probably was, thinking, this is the way I'm doing it, and maybe after a point Anthony Lynn was, I got to make a change. I'm going with the former UNLV quarterback and Shane Steichen, and
yes,
to his credit, it paid off against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, and Shane kind of brought new life again to the Chargers. He got pretty creative early. He established the run, which was what Anthony Lynn wanted all along. So he made the coach happy. He made the players happy. But I think, for the Chargers, but again, saying they're getting healthy too. They got a lot of weapons. It seems like Mike Williams is in a rhythm. Hunter Henry's in a rhythm now. They got Russell Okung on the O-line. The O-line doesn't get a lot of love, but he was vital. So I think now getting guys back and then kind of getting a spark with the new coach might help out. And also, too, sometimes when you see a firing, like when you brought this up early, you kind of wake up like, maybe I could be the one that could be let go.
Everybody works a little harder.
Yeah, so I think, that also helps out. But I think it could be a thing where, they keep it rolling for a little bit longer.
Again, we're talking to Gilbert Manzano, the Chargers beat writer for the Orange County Register. And Gilbert, you talked about this being a distraction. Now, this game is huge for both teams. Like you said, it has playoff implications. Whether or not for the AFC West or not, it definitely does if the teams want to stay alive in the wild card race. Phillip Rivers had a good season. He has not had as good of a season as everyone would expect. But facing this Charger defense, I'm sure he's licking his chops a little bit. What are the Chargers going to have to do in order to beat the Raiders in Oakland?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, people were saying there's the decline of Phillip Rivers, the demise of Phillip Rivers. He's too old. And then you look at the stat sheet, he's leading the league in passing yards. Yeah. So he's not having a terrible season. But, like you said, the Raiders secondary, that's not what they're, known for. They can't really get a lot of pass rush. So I think for Phillip Rivers, it could be a day where, he really takes a lot of shots down the field. I think for a guy like Keenan Allen, who's kind of, not done much since maybe September, maybe try to get Keenan Allen involved a little more, spread out. But I know the Raiders are pretty banged up. I know with the secondary, especially linebacker, that they lost Vontaze Burfict too. They lost a rookie, Jonathan Abram, to start the year. So they've been pretty banged up there. And I think they just lost Arden Key, so that doesn't help out either, who I think a guy was getting sacks too. So overall, I think Phillip Rivers in the offense, they're probably saying, you know what, that's a pretty banged-up Raiders defense. Let's go up and down the field and get some points.
Yeah, you said it. I think the Chargers' season really up to this point can be summarized by two things, the injuries and the turnovers. The Texans, the Rivers fumble, and then against Denver and Pittsburgh, Rivers 2 interceptions and 1 fumble in each one of those games. But all 5 of the Chargers' losses so far this year have only been by 1 score. So it's not like they've been out of any of the games. And that crazy, that crazy ending of the Titans game, I've never seen anything more bizarre.
Yeah, that was kind of before this Packers game. That was kind of the theme. I think the first 7 out of 8 games, they were all by 1 score. Besides that lopsided game in Miami,
right?
Every game was close. The games they won to start the year, they had to go to overtime against the Colts. Against the Bears, they needed Eddie Pinheiro, a former Raider, to miss the So they've been kind of lucky there. So, and also, too, like you mentioned, the losses, the turnovers were crucial. The one in Nashville was the one that stands out the most.
Yeah.
But it seems every time they get – I think they still do lead the league in goal-to-goal turnovers. They had 5 turnovers when they just need to get a touchdown, and they couldn't do it. So those you also saw it in the Packers game, the red zone struggle. Yeah. When Shane Steichen was getting the guys moving down the field. They got field goals, not touchdowns, and they, luckily for the defense, they stepped up and kind of bailed them out. But when they get to the red zone, maybe that could be somewhere where the Raiders defense could step up, at least with the red zone defense, and kind of hold them to at least field goals.
Right. All right, Gilbert, we got 10 seconds left. How do you see this game coming down?
Oh, I think it's going to be a good game. I'm going to say a shootout. I know the Chargers had a big game defensively, but I do like the Raiders' O-line to kind of contain Joey Bosa and Ingram a little bit. But I'm going to go with the Chargers 33-30 against the Raiders in a shootout on Thursday night.
All right. Gilbert Manzano, beat writer for the Chargers from the Orange County Register. Thanks, man. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Gilbert.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we will take you home on the show here. You're listening to the Silver and Black tonight here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140.
CBS Sports Radio.
From Allen to Zog and all the Davises, Jacksons, and Woodsons in between, we've got your Raiders covered. This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Indeed it is. Welcome back to Silver and Black Tonight. We are talking and previewing for once, because usually this show is about recapping, but tonight
doing it all.
We have a game on Thursday between the Raiders and the Chargers. By the way, some numbers that do not favor the Raiders. Got to give them to you, folks. That's what I do. I tell you like it is. Anthony Lynn is a head coach with the Chargers, 4-0 against the Raiders. The last time they played, last Veterans Day, 11-11-18. Chargers 20, Raiders 6. That was in Oakland. By the way, Phillip Rivers, 45 career touchdown passes against the Silver and Black, is the most against any opponent. Phillip Rivers is a Raiders slayer, Chaz.
Kryptonite.
But you say the Raiders still have a shot, but they have to do three things. What three keys to this game are you selecting for the Raiders to maybe come on top? Or at least, what's the 3 points of the game?
Break Phillip Rivers' legs. Three things. Break his legs, his arms, and his
torso?
Else. Yeah. No, just force Phillip Rivers into mistakes. You know, what Gilbert was just talking about, the deficiency the Chargers have in the red zone and all the turnovers that they've had. You know, 5 of those losses, like I said, have directly resulted in Chargers losses. So if we can force Phillip Rivers into mistakes, obviously he's still leading the league, but he hasn't looked as good as he has in the past, and he's getting up there a little bit, but he can still sling it. But if we can make him, make some bad decisions, I know the Raiders, they show blitz a lot, but they don't bring it. Maybe they can disguise some things, switch it up a little bit, and just, the next thing, I think the Raiders really need to have 150 yards rushing as a team. That'll help with the ball control, the possession. That
sure.
Maybe that'll neutralize.
But let me go back to your first one, because you're talking about running game, but I want to just make a point again.
Okay.
121.7 passing rating.
I don't want to hear any
for Phillip Rivers against the Raiders.
He's a machine.
Again, 45 career touchdown passes against the Raiders, most against any opponent. Anthony Lynn, 4-0. Listen, the numbers are bad. And you're right about Phillip Rivers. They have to. I think this is where the defense, Chaz, has to again come up big and try to create some turnovers. So it's going to be a big, tall task for the defense on a short week.
That's a key
to top it off. Okay,
force them into mistakes.
But now you're talking about the running game. The Raiders, clearly that offense, we talked about it earlier in the show, Derek Carr doing so well because of that running game, which has opened up the passing. They have to have Josh Jacobs. They have Jalon Richard did so well.
Yeah.
Last game with those 4 touches in that
last
series.
Drive was all Richard.
That last drive. So that whole running game, not just Jacobs,
I'm talking about
right?
the whole running game. If they can get 150 yards, that helps with the time possession, the ball control, maybe neutralize Ingram and Bosa a little bit and take some pressure off of the defense. On the flip side of that, I think they need to hold the Chargers under 100 yards rushing. We saw last week Melvin Gordon starting to get into a groove. Austin Eckler's been solid all season, I think. We talked about the change of the offensive coordinator, and they had an extremely efficient game. So if we can get over 150, hold them under 100, rushing the ball, it's still, people talk about the wide open passing in the NFL, what it is now. Rushing the ball is still the most important key.
No, it is. Okay, what's your third?
Minimize the penalties. The Raiders, they lead the league in penalty yards. And then I think you mentioned it on the show that the Raiders lead the league in first downs given by penalties because they had 4 more of those on Sunday. So they really have to play a mistake-free game. If they want to compete with the team that we saw dismantle Green Bay on Sunday, they've got to play a mistake-free, complete game.
They do, and I agree with you on the penalties. They cannot give the Chargers more opportunities by giving them penalties. They did it. It almost cost them the Detroit game. I mean, on that final drive, Detroit got down into the red zone because of penalties.
Yep.
And so to me, I mean, they had some plays too, but what I mean to say is that they have got to cut down. They have to play, to me, they have to play their best game of the season.
I think so. It's got to be a perfect game.
They really do. I mean, it's at home. You have all the benefit of having that game in Oakland right now. And this is really, to me, if the Raiders lose the game, yes, it hurts their playoff chances, outside playoff chances. I still don't take them as seriously as some do as a playoff team,
but
unless they win this game. No,
Cincinnati, the Jets, you look down the line a little bit. A lot of home games, a lot of easy teams.
But that's why this game is so important.
Exactly.
In the division, they have to win the game. If they win this game, then they are a legitimate, serious wild card contender, because right now the Chiefs, unless they can beat the Chiefs in Kansas City,
they're not catching the Chiefs.
I don't think so either. So if you want to continue to play in that wild card game, which is going to be hard when you have Baltimore and New England.
Well, they got the tiebreaker against Baltimore.
They do have the tiebreaker against Baltimore. But to me, they're going to have to really show that, and you got to win a big game like this. This is the kind of jump game for a young team that you have to have.
No, we talk about, like the critical moment of the game. I feel like this is the defining moment of the season, right?
Yep.
And they win this one, and that really can vault them into, greatness.
All right. Well, Chaz, man, I can't believe we got through this show quickly.
Not over, is it?
It's almost over.
Come on. We didn't get to talk about any of the fun stuff.
Okay. That's what we have Sundays, though, too. Okay. So, guys, that's the other thing I again remind you, if you haven't heard our Sunday show, where this all started, Silver and Black today is Sundays from 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific time. We will be on there again this Sunday as well. And, of course, this is on Tuesdays from 6 to 7 p.m. Every week during the season. So we want to make sure you guys do that. Also, check out silverandblacktoday.com. Follow Chaz on Twitter at SBTChaz. I am LV Gully on Twitter. Chaz, thanks again, man. We'll see you real soon.
Great. Yep.
All right. For our producer, Mark Bonilla, and for Chaz Osborne, I am Scott Branson. This has been the Silver and Black tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Las Vegas is a Raiders town, so keep up with the team as they set their sights on making our town their home. Hi, it's Scott Branson, host of Las Vegas's only all-Raiders talk show, Silver and Black Today. Be our guest every Sunday from 8 to 10 a.m. as we talk all things Silver and Black. Interviews with coaches, players, and Raiders greats are all part of the agenda. That's Silver and Black Today, Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Silver and Black Today, powered by the law offices of Michael A. Toriano, your legal expert for criminal defense matters.